to be a leader, you do need to be vulnerable. Showing people the humanity behind the leader is a way to really build trust.
As CEO of Leo UK, Carly Avener is redefining leadership in the creative industry, building a culture where brilliant creative work and people thrive together.
We live in a world now where we are surrounded by people opening up in all different sorts of ways. I think there's just much more acceptance that that is quite a healthy thing to do.
How has anxiety been a friend or an enemy to you as you've grown?
I definitely have lots of anxieties about lots of things, and I work really, really hard to make sure that it doesn't take on a life of its own and overwhelm me.
Has it ever got out of control? Hello and welcome back to the Courageous Leaders podcast. I am very, very excited. We have the amazing Carly on the show today. Welcome to the show, Carly.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Oh, it's lovely. And I've already just done loads of your fashion of what you're wearing, so we're definitely going to shout out.
Yes,
to your
shout
people.
out to Florare, brilliant brand that's been set up by two friends of mine, Stockton John Lewis, available online as well.
I love it. We never go straight to an ad, but I love it. I've been literally, as soon as you walked in, I was just admiring everything you're wearing. But we'll do a shout out for your jeans a bit later, because I'd love to know what has been that courageous moment for you?
Yeah, I think probably when I became CEO at Leo, which is the agency that I work for, I'd actually been there for a few years already. I'd started as MD and I'd been sort of at the agency for a few years and part of the team that had been kind of turning the agency around and growing it and winning more clients. So I didn't feel like it was the right moment to sort of introduce myself and talk to everyone about how I was going to change the strategy for the agency, because it was going well and really it was a continuation of that. But at the same time, I wanted to kind of mark the moment of becoming CEO and help people understand what that would mean for them, because it wasn't going to be a change of strategy, but obviously it would be a different era of leadership because there's a different person in that position. So I decided to get really vulnerable and be really honest with people and tell them a bit more about me as a person and my journey and my story and how I'd become CEO. And I wanted them to understand the things about me that they wouldn't necessarily have known from just sort of working with me or looking at me. So things like my background, my family's background. I was the first person in my family to go to university. I am a single parent. Those kind of things that I don't think people would necessarily have known about me. And I wanted people to know that because we're making such great strides in making our industry and our workplaces so much more diverse. People are coming into the industry from so many different backgrounds, and they don't necessarily see people that share any of their life stories or experiences on the surface. And I wanted people to know that whoever you are, whatever your background, whatever education you've had or haven't had, it doesn't matter. It's about you and how hard you work, and your, ambition and how smart you are. But it was quite a vulnerable moment. And I talked about things like having had real imposter syndrome along the way, crippling imposter syndrome, actually, that definitely held me back in my career. And I then went public with that more broadly outside of the agency. And I think that was quite a brave moment, because it is vulnerable to talk about having not a lot of confidence at certain points in your career, but it really resonated with people. And
So I'm curious, first of all, just very quickly, how did you feel going up there knowing you were about to tell this story? How did you feel inside?
I think I was, I felt vulnerable, but I was, I'm proud of my story because it shaped who I am and it's helped me get to where I've got to. So, and it's something that I haven't ever hidden from anyone. And, people that know me more kind of intimately know those things about me. It's nothing I've ever hidden. But I felt excited because I knew that there were people in the agency that needed to hear that in a way.
They needed to see you.
Yeah,
not just
exactly.
your job title.
Not just
really
the finished
you.
article, the kind of the CEO, turning up in her nice outfit and shiny hair, but actually the journey, because I didn't start out like that. Of course I didn't. But people don't always know that or think that.
And this is the reason why we do the podcast.
Right.
Is to help see the people's journey. So people who think maybe they can't be a leader or can't get there, it's like, no, you can. We all have different journeys and ways of doing it.
Yeah.
What did you see as the impact of everyone? Because obviously they knew you.
Yeah.
They'd worked with you for a while. And obviously they're now seeing more of you. What was the impact in the audience hearing that from you? Because I'm guessing they weren't expecting that.
No, I don't think they were. And I think there was just almost like a moment of, it was quite a powerful moment, actually. And I think there was a real moment of like connection in a way. Obviously, there were lots of people there, but I think to be a leader, you do need to be vulnerable to a degree. And obviously, everyone's vulnerabilities are different and everyone has different levels of comfort over how much they share. But I think showing people the humanity behind the leader is a way to really build trust. And yeah, I think that's what it felt like afterwards.
Yeah. You can imagine you could feel that energy in the room.
Yeah.
And it's so much like Patrick Lencioni's work is the whole goal is with that trust is to build vulnerability-based trust.
Yeah.
We can't have just transactional trust. Oh, I know you can do your job. I'll trust you. But actually, if I don't know who you are and I don't really understand your character, how can we have that really vulnerability-based trust?
Yes.
And that for any leader listening, that's the goal to be aiming for. And it's just so nice that for you to share this, because I work with a lot of CEOs and that thing of, oh no, but I can't be vulnerable, that's weak. And sometimes the age that people are CEOs, they were brought up that vulnerability was a weakness.
Yeah.
Have you come across that in any of your leadership team or leaders you've worked with? They're like, I can't believe you did that.
I don't know. I think everyone was really supportive, and I think it helped everyone else to open up as well. And not everyone is as comfortable with that as I am. And obviously it's everyone's prerogative how much they want to share. But no, I think we live in a world now where we are surrounded by people opening up in all different sorts of ways. And I think there's just much more acceptance that is quite a healthy thing to do.
Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, to please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It's a small action that makes a big difference. You'll be the first to know when new episodes drop, and your support helps us create meaningful content for leaders like you. I'd also love to hear from you, so if you have any thoughts, questions or ideas, pop them into the comments. And if you're curious about how my leadership coaching or training could support you or your team, just drop me a DM and we'll set up a call. Thanks so much. Now let's get back to the episode. So you mentioned that one of the things you've openly spoken about, which, you know, is definitely a courageous moment, going out there with your imposter syndrome story and how that has affected you. Because we know it affects so many, and we've got people that have got lots of different views on how they see imposter syndrome. What did it mean to you, and what did it cost you, and how did you get to where you are now?
So I think ultimately I had been holding myself back from opportunities, from putting myself out there, from taking risks, because I didn't have enough confidence in my ability and my capability, because I worked in a very high-performing culture in an agency that I absolutely loved, and I had so much admiration and respect for the leaders of that business, and I just thought, I'll never be as smart as that. I'd never be able to stand up in front of a company and talk to people. I'd never have that idea. I was comparing myself to them the whole time. And, unsurprisingly, I'm not the same as anyone else. None of us are. We're all unique. But rather than having real belief and even an understanding of what my strengths were, I was just constantly comparing and falling short. So I just kind of held myself back, and I was doing okay, but I definitely wasn't the person putting my hand up for every opportunity and pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. And in a way, I was forced to kind of address it because my confidence just really plummeted for whatever reason. You know, I was in a very competitive environment, and just couldn't hack it anymore. And, it really started to affect me, not sleeping very well, just really not functioning and not feeling happy and not feeling myself. And thankfully, I can look back and say that now, thankfully, it got so bad that I had to kind of ask for help, because I just thought, this isn't right, the way I'm feeling. And luckily, I was really well supported, and I was given, more support in the job that I was doing, but also a coach. And that was the first time I'd ever had coaching. And through that process, my coach helped me to unravel these beliefs about myself, and make me see that actually they were completely self-imposed. And I did have the support and the confidence of those brilliant leaders that I looked up to, because they were promoting me, and I'd been working there for 10 years or so. And the evidence suggested that they had belief in myself, and why didn't I have belief in myself? And through that process, I gradually was able to kind of take down the barriers that I'd built for myself.
Yeah. So as we start to change that story of how you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
And because on our call that we met before, it was interesting when you were saying that you were actually very confident at school.
Yeah.
It was something that changed in the workplace that led to this. Because a lot of people, they've been, say, low confidence from school, and they take that into the workplace.
Yeah.
So I think what's interesting in your story, actually, someone who was actually quite naturally confident can still lose their confidence when they in a situation.
Yes. I mean, the world of work is, very, very different to the school environment, where you're essentially with people your own age, and, it's very supportive and nurturing. Work, certainly when I first started working 20 years ago, wasn't like that. It was, full of lots of who's seemingly confident, capable people that knew exactly what they were doing, whereas I had no clue. Just the etiquette of the office, even, it was all just a complete and utter mystery to me. So I think just over time that I just, I found everyone and everything very intimidating, and for whatever reason started to lose confidence. And I didn't necessarily realize it. And, I was still out there doing well, but I guess inside, I didn't believe in myself as much as I should have done.
Yeah. And it's so sad, because so many people are walking around like that, and holding themselves back. And also a lot of people in leadership positions. Yeah. And we wear this wonderful mask that everyone thinks you're okay, but inside, again, that constant comparison, I couldn't do this, or I better hold back, or no, but I'm not that type of person. Yeah. The chatter we can have.
Oh, it's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
It really exhausting. And when I talked about imposter syndrome more publicly, I was so blown away by the responses that I got from lots of people that I'd never met before, but just saying, thank you so much for talking about this. Thank you so much for being a leader who talks about this, because that isn't the conversation we often see. And I needed to hear that, because I really struggle with imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Something with imposter syndrome that I know that's helped me in terms of sort of to reframe it a little bit is every time I think I feel like an imposter, I know I'm going through growth. So it's almost like, well, I'm going to feel like an imposter because I'm about to do something I've never done before. So it's going to feel new. It's going to feel different. I'm going to feel uncomfortable. And I think anytime as human beings we step into uncertainty or the unknown, that's when the chatter goes even louder, going, oh, no, you don't want to do this because it just wants to keep you safe. And I think that's where this feeling like an imposter can come into. So I think there is the opportunity to reframe it as a positive for growth versus always going, oh, an imposter syndrome, so that means I can't.
Yeah.
But I know
that's a really good point.
That conversation wasn't around when imposter syndrome first sort of came out. It was almost just like, I can't, I don't belong.
Yes, exactly.
So again, the confidence goes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, firstly, I think there's a healthy amount of imposter syndrome to have, which is, to your point, I haven't done this before. No one knows if you can achieve what you set out to. Of course, there's opportunity for failure, which obviously is not a bad thing all the time. So I think a healthy amount of, not necessarily imposter syndrome, but, can I do this? How's it going to work out? Uncertainty,
feeling nervous,
little bit of nerves, anticipation is healthy and normal, but it's recognizing when it starts to take up too much space in your head and your thoughts and is literally stopping you from doing things. And it's just being aware of that, I think. And the other point, which has only ever just occurred to me actually through this conversation, is there's something inherent in the phrase of imposter syndrome, which is about comparing yourself to other people. Yeah. Because to be an imposter, you have to kind of not fit in, I suppose. And I don't know, I think there's more to unpack around how much we compare ourselves to others. And I can't remember that phrase, comparison being the thief of joy. Something like that. Yeah. And I think that's so true. Yeah. And trying to filter out that comparison and the noise and just focus on you and what you can do, I think might be interesting.
And a sense of freedom.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the guest we had earlier, this came up a little bit, where we were saying it's so important to help you get that inner freedom is to know what your values are, what your standards are, to manage your mindset. Like the minute I learned how to manage my mind, my whole life changed. And it was when someone said to me, your mind is not you, it's a tool that you use to help you go where you want to go. And I could sort of give a bit of space to it. Yeah. So all that noise, I was like, that's not me talking. That's not my voice. That's just a voice trying to look after me. It's not who I am. Yes. So with a lot of the work I do, and I show people what their inner world are, people are like, I didn't even know any of that existed, because there's so much to the inner world. Yeah. We're so reliant on that external world, and we judge ourselves on how we think other people see us, how we show up, how we dress, what we've got, what we own. And that's our judgment of ourselves. Yeah. And no wonder then if that's how we're judging ourselves, we can only judge on what we see. And what we see is then what we're going to compare versus that inner knowing of, well, this is who I am. I know this is important to me. That's important to that person to have an amazing house flashcard. That's not important to me. This is. So why am I comparing with someone who has very different values to me?
Values. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How do you navigate this being a CEO in terms of you've got a lot of people you're responsible for, and you're going to have a big percentage of them who have got low confidence or feeling like an imposter syndrome. With what you've experienced yourself, how has that helped you connect with them and guide them and help them grow in their confidence?
Well, I think it's, obviously that openness, that vulnerability, sharing my story and my experience. And, within the organisation that I work in, I have some direct reports, and they will then have, so trying to kind of work with them on a one-to-one basis and, spot things like lack of confidence, holding people back. As I was saying earlier, when I was going through this kind of process with my coach of trying to understand, why did I have these beliefs about myself? Where did they come? There was no evidence for them. Actually, the evidence is really positive. So I say to people, find those emails that you've been sent telling you that you've done a great job. Find your appraisal where people have said really positive things about you. That is your evidence for your performance, not these abstract voices in your head or that stranger over there on the internet's doing a thing that I'm not doing. That's got nothing to do with your performance. And put it in a folder, and when you're lacking confidence, go and read those things and remind yourself that people do believe in you. And if you really need it, write them out, put them on a Post-it note and stick it in front of your computer so it's there all the time.
Yeah, really nice.
So I think that's quite a practical, tangible thing that people can do to start to kind of just reframe where those beliefs are coming from.
And I'd love to get your view on something, because I was recently talking to a leader where they felt that everything had to be positive. And they really struggled with anything that felt negative or pulling the energy down. It's everything positive, which made me a bit nervous, because we need to have difficult conversations with people. We need to give people feedback to say, look, you're not performing quite there and here and there. What's your view on balancing that positive, you're doing well, you're doing praise? How have you built, I don't know if you have, or like a feedback culture where actually people can receive things without it completely knocking their confidence? They see it as, like, I can now grow, I can learn from this. Because I know a lot of companies are struggling with this.
No, it's really hard sometimes to give difficult, negative feedback. And it's hard to get people to do that across the board and create a feedback culture, it's definitely something that we talk about a lot and we work on, and we try and role model that as leaders. I think it's about trying to position that feedback as something that is going to help you get to where you want to get to, because most of the people I work with are super ambitious and they want to do well and they want to progress. And it's really demoralizing for people and really disorientating where they're not making progress and they don't know why, because they haven't been told.
I know, people don't tell people, do they?
No, it's really hard. But I think you have to really take the time to think really carefully about how you're going to deliver that feedback. Like, I don't think difficult conversations are ones that you can go into unprepared, because under pressure, you need to make sure that the things that come out of your mouth are precise and fair and accurate and clear. Yeah. So I think preparation is really important, and trying to think about what that person needs to know and how they're going to receive it and how you're going to make them feel like there's chance for them to overcome any of that.
And leave, there's a plan, there's a solution. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, you said something clear there. When I go and do team audits, the number one thing across the board that comes back is everyone wants more clarity. The number one. And it's so interesting. I think what can happen is so much communication is happening in the leadership team, but it's just not trickling down to everybody else, and this clarity. So I love the fact that you used the word clear, because I think that's just where we have so much uncertainty at the moment. Yeah. The one thing that can give you certainty, even if a leader doesn't know the answers, just to be clear, we don't know right now.
Yes, exactly.
So people stop guessing.
Yes, really important.
How are you navigating, it is a challenging marketplace at the moment and there is a lot of uncertainty. What's your leadership style in navigating that and trying to create some calm, but being honest that it is hard right now?
Yeah, I think, people can see what's going on around them, and it's a very challenging environment, but it has been for the last forever, really, but certainly for the last 5 years. And we talk about the perma crisis, and this is kind of the new normal. But we do always acknowledge the macro environment that we're operating in, that any organisation is operating in, that any individual is operating in, the economy, the political scenario in this country and in the world, climate change. It's all very, very stressful. And most of those things we have zero control over. They're happening around us and they impact us, but we can't control them. However, there are so many things that we have control of: our own performance, our own relationships, how we work with each other, how we partner with our clients. There's so much that's in our control. So let's focus on that. Nice. And I think that gives people a sense of agency and, it's crazy out there, but let's believe in ourselves and let's focus on doing a brilliant job in the things that we can control.
Yeah, really nice. I think that focus, isn't it? Just let's focus in the right place.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
For you, because CEO is a big job.
Yeah.
Big responsibility. I know, obviously, when you were growing up, you were looking at the people going, I could never do that. Yeah. When did you have that bit of a fire going, no, I kind of want to be CEO?
Definitely not a thing that I ever started out. When I first started out, it was like, how do I even keep this job? I just couldn't think any further ahead than probably getting to account director. And then I think, again, it was that turning point of like unlocking my imposter syndrome, going, okay, well, I'm looking around me and there are successful people, but on paper, I've got as much chance as they have of doing a good job. And I have got ideas and I have got a point of view on stuff. So let's just keep going and see. I'm just going to keep going until someone tells me you're just not good enough for this. I think I got to a point where I sort of accepted and acknowledged that I did want an agency leadership role. I'd been sort of skirting around it for a while, and I just took the leap and decided that that's what I was going to go for. And I was incredibly fortunate to cross paths again with Charlie Rudd, who is now my boss and has been my boss for the last 6 years. But he was looking for an MD, and I just thought, he believed in me because we'd worked together previously, and I just thought, I really respect him, and if he believes in me, I'm just going to go for it. And I trust that he will be a really brilliant, supportive boss, which he is. Anyone who knows him will attest to that. And I think it's just been that sort of, it's organically, the ambition has kind of grown as we've collectively, with the rest of the leadership team and the agency, just kind of our success has kind of grown and manifested. And I think I was like, okay, I think I really do believe that I can do this, and here's the opportunity, and I can't not do it.
Were you nervous?
Yes and no. I think, again, because I'd gradually grown into it. So it was nice. And I'd, had a brilliant role model and teacher and guide who is still around. So I think I just felt really well supported.
That's nice.
And yes, I was obviously had the healthy amount of, anxiety over, okay, I was able to do the MD job. Will I really make it as a CEO? But I just didn't give that too much oxygen and just thought, why don't I just focus on doing the job and
see what happens?
That's
brilliant. I think that's that whole thing, isn't it? Just like backing yourself, walking through the door when an opportunity comes.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, to please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It's a small action that makes a big difference. You'll be the first to know when new episodes drop, and your support helps us create meaningful content for leaders like you. I'd also love to hear from you, so if you have any thoughts, questions or ideas, pop them into the comments. And if you're curious about how my leadership coaching or training could support you or your team, just drop me a DM and we'll set up a call. Thanks so much. Now let's get back to the episode. You mentioned anxiety there.
Yeah.
How has anxiety been a friend or an enemy to you as you've grown?
Yeah, I would definitely consider myself, you're not supposed to say anxious person who has anxiety.
Okay.
In various ways my whole life, I suppose. And I think it's, again, a bit like the imposter syndrome. It's healthy. It's part of being a human being, I think. I don't believe there's anyone that doesn't have a sense of anxiety whether it's over certain scenarios or things. And again, it's there as a protection mechanism, and it's how we've survived as a species. But it's making sure that it is proportionate to the threat that you face, and it's identifying when it gets out of control and then learning how to kind of understand it and manage it. So yeah, I definitely have lots of anxieties about lots of things, and I work really, really hard to make sure that it doesn't take on a life of its own and overwhelm me.
Has it ever got out of control?
Well, probably, again, back to my imposter syndrome, like, I'm not really functioning. I think that definitely expressed itself as anxiety. So yeah, definitely I've had moments in my life where it has got out of control. And I've now built loads of kind of layers of coping mechanism that have just become my daily life, exercise, sleep, eating well, connecting with friends, investing in my relationships. All of those things are, there to help me just cope with life, really.
You mentioned sleep there.
Yeah.
I know that hasn't always been easy for you. Are you happy to share?
Yeah, sure. Yes, insomnia. It's an absolute...
I've never experienced it.
I hate people like you.
Sorry.
You're very lucky. It's awful.
Help me understand it.
It's awful. And again, I think it's something that I've has been a bit of an Achilles heel for me for a long time. But before having a child, it was kind of manageable because I'd just sleep in for an extra hour in the morning or... have an early night. But when suddenly you have a kid, and that's when it really spiraled out of control, because that you can't lie in, you can't catch up. It is relentless. And then the insomnia itself and the fear and the anxiety around it becomes a thing that stops you from sleeping. So yeah, when I had my daughter, it really got completely out of control, and I would go nights without a wink of sleep, lying in bed, heart racing, worrying about how I was going to cope the next day, getting into bed the next night, having not slept the night before, thinking I'm never going to sleep again. It was awful. But I have done a lot of work on it, and a lot of reading, and a lot of just work on it to try and manage it. And I have to say it's so much better now. And at the heart of that has been, I found this amazing book. I can't remember the name of it now. I think it's called The Sleep Book. And it's by a guy called, I think his name's Guy Meadows.
Okay.
At the heart of his philosophy is acceptance, essentially acceptance. The fight against the insomnia is half the battle. And being able to accept that you're awake and to use that time to still rest and to still relax and to meditate and all of those things, therein lies the answer. And it's really, really hard to do that. But when you can get to that point, then there are still nights that I don't sleep, but it does not affect me anywhere near as much as it used to.
You can stay quite calm.
I can stay really calm. I'll be fine the next day. I've done it before.
Yeah.
I will sleep again. These things happen, etc.
Thank you for sharing that.
That's okay.
Because I'm pretty sure people listening to this will be going through that.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, what period was it? Did this happen at like MD CEO level? When you
no, it was actually before that.
Before.
It was before that. When I had my first child, like before that point, I would have periods of insomnia connected to just any stress that was happening in my life, or even just like overwhelm. I've got loads of work on, or there's something particular. That would be the thing. That's how it would manifest. That anxiety would manifest in like a whirring brain, waking up at 2 a.m, then not being able to go back to sleep. But I could manage it because I could always catch up, and it just wasn't a problem. It was really having a child
that kicked it,
that I just couldn't. Yeah, that made it so much worse.
And I know I want to come on to the child and say, I just want to quickly say, in terms of the power, reinforce the power of your acceptance, is my husband had to have 2 discs replaced in his neck.
Wow.
So he's had chronic pain for years. And he went for a coffee with like a coach, life coach. And she just said, he tried every physio, just said, have you tried acceptance? And he was like, what? Shouldn't try acceptance.
Yeah.
Again, like you, just got into space. Overnight change for him in just terms of accepting that he had this pain, that then it softened the pain.
It's so powerful.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So anyone listening to us going, oh yeah, acceptance, whatever, please trust us.
Yeah.
It is incredibly powerful way to manage your mind. I think it's one of the most underrated skills of human being is to learn how to do acceptance.
Yeah.
But going back, I know like having the child and then returning to work, it has created a bit of a mission for you. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So my daughter is 8. So I returned to work, after a year. And I think essentially I was just expecting to pick up where I left off. There was no sort of coaching or conversation about how my life had changed, how my world of work would change. And I found it so hard and so stressful because I was doing a 4-day week. So I was going from having always worked 5 days to then working 4 days. And on top of that, I had a hard, I couldn't start before 9 o'clock and I had to leave at 5:30. And that basically meant I was losing at least 2 hours of every working day. So the compression of time just felt really hard to navigate. And I didn't know how to get all the work done, plus spend time with my child, plus sleep, because of my insomnia, I can't work in the evening. I will never, ever sleep. I just can't do it. So it was just really, really hard. And I was in my first month, I was regularly asked to work on a Friday. Oh, there's a client meeting. And it was like, okay, I guess I don't know how to navigate this because I was being asked by senior people who just had no lived experience of being a working parent or a working mum, or being in a dual income household where both parents are working and there isn't just someone at home constantly looking after the kids. And I found it really, really hard and lost confidence completely. Like, how do I have a career? How am I going to compete with people that don't have kids that can work longer hours than me? So that was a really not a very...
Did you feel quite lost?
Yeah, I felt totally lost.
Yeah.
Totally lost. And there was no one spotted it and went, I think you need some support here. Let me show you the way. Let me tell you what I've done or what's worked for me or what hasn't. So one of the things I've invested a lot in at Leo is creating a really supportive and inclusive environment for working parents, because compared to when I joined the industry 20 years ago, there are way more women working, which is a brilliant thing. There are way more dual income households where, kids are in full-time childcare. There isn't someone at home if the kids are sick, if they need an appointment, all of those things. So it's really, really hard for parents to kind of stick to this old school system of you're in the office 5 days a week, 9 to 5, and nothing from your personal life ever intrudes on that. So we've created Parentland at Leo, which is a whole range of initiatives where there's coaching for expectant parents. There's a buddy system for parents returning from maternity or paternity leave to kind of support them with the challenges that are just inevitable and come up along the way.
Yeah.
We've had expert training for just parenting workshops, because it's not just about babies and young children. Lots of our parents have teenagers who've lived through COVID and have a whole range of challenges, mental health challenges, educational challenges, neurodiversity, that are really, really stressful for people to manage and do encroach on the world of work. And I just think if we can relieve a little bit of pressure, because I know there's enough of us to kind of come together. So we've done a series of parenting workshops. So we've really worked hard to try and make that return to work. And really at the sort of heart of a lot of that is also the gender pay gap. If you look at the data and you look at the evidence, a big kind of driver of the gender pay gap is women getting to parenthood and finding that they can't work. It's too difficult, it's too inflexible, and dropping out of the world of work or really pulling back and working part-time. And that is a massive driver of the gender pay gap. So if we can both support working mums, but also working dads, so that the theory goes that if, dads are sharing the load as much as so many of them want to as well.
Yep.
And it's harder for them because they don't have the role models of kind of senior men parenting out loud. Shout out to Elliot Ray, who I've never met, but I think he's doing a brilliant job around this to support working dads. Then I think we can really make the workplace much more progressive and flexible to support working parents.
I couldn't agree more. And also it's been so interesting. I've got a few friends that have done the longer paternity than the woman's done. And the fear that they've started to feel of, will I have a job?
Yeah.
And will I be, and it's like, there are now men seeing it through what it's like to be a woman's eyes. To go, oh my God, I now know how difficult this must have been and how you must have felt. And again, the men losing the confidence going back into the workplace when they've been out 6 months, they haven't done the year, but 6 months, it's still like, oh my God, how... Exactly. And especially how quickly things are changing now.
Yeah.
So I think getting that lens on across both to enable more fairer parenting. Yeah.
We need more balance for men and women. Men need better support and access to parenting so that they're not the support parent from birth. They are an equal partner, and women need more support to kind of come back to work and for their careers to thrive. And gender equality is better for everybody.
Yeah. Well said. Love that. On that note, I'd like to know, if you imagine your future self.
Oh, yes.
Go as far into the future you want. You can just do a year, 5, 10, your future self.
I forgot to prep for this.
No, that's why I'm giving you a bit of you a bit of a lead into it. And they're sitting here. They want to give you some really good advice. What would your future self tell you right now?
Enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. Try not to worry too much about the future. No one knows what the future will bring, but enjoy the challenges and the successes that you're experiencing right now.
It's lovely. Because we, as I say, I think we spend too much worrying about stuff. And you actually go, we have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. And that's anxiety, right? That is
the future projection.
Worrying about things that might never happen.
Yeah.
It's such a waste of time.
And our imagination is crazy. Just calm it down.
Yeah, the catastrophizing.
And if there's anyone sitting there kind of sitting on the fence, can I be a leader? Can I not be a leader? I'm not sure if they're starting to feel that, not got the self-belief in themselves. What immediate advice would you give them?
Anyone can be a leader. And I think the key to being a leader is to know who you are and really know who you are and really amplify that. And I think if you know who you are and you know your values and you know your beliefs, and that's not always easy. I remember being asked that when I, along the way when you're, I don't know, and perhaps that just comes with experience. But I think at the same time, the more you know yourself, the more of a leader you will naturally be.
Yeah. And I think the more you can connect with others.
Yes.
Because you're so more certain in yourself.
Exactly.
And I think you can connect with others and you can go into the unknown with grace.
Exactly.
Because you're more solid in here.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Carly, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I love that.
Thank you. Me too. Could keep going. Yeah.
Could keep going. I'm like, the time's running out. It's awful. Yeah. But thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. If you've been enjoying the Courageous Leaders podcast, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us keep creating quality content and reaching more leaders like you who are ready to grow and make a real impact. We fund this podcast ourselves, so every subscription truly makes a difference and allows us to support courageous leaders like you. Thank you for being part of the journey.